This was actually an easy list to make.
I had a lot of fun making it, but it took me a long time.
Really?
I spent like 3.5 hours making it.
3.5 hours?
Yeah, probably.
That's crazy, dog. Hey folks, welcome back to the Dice Tower. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And this is our bottom 5. That is to say, numbers 10 through 6. Did I do it fast enough that time?
Yes.
All right, cool. Of our top 10 themes in games, in board games specifically. Not just talking about the theme, we're going to be talking about a game within that theme that really kind of personifies it for us. My heaviest game. I hope I won this time.
You probably did.
4.33.
Definitely won.
Yes!
I don't even have one in the fours.
Nuh-uh. Yeah, all 10 of yours are probably in the threes.
3.78.
That's pretty stinking close. All right, my lightest one was 2.19. You probably won that one.
2.56 was my lightest.
All right, my average was 2.85.
Mine was 3.09.
You won!
I don't know if that's a win.
Overall, well, as far as heavy games are concerned,
sure.
I feel so inadequate sometimes.
You're
games
lucky
are
you
so...
put that one game in there, which I know what it is. You're
I know.
You put it in there, you'd cut another half a point.
You may not know what it is.
I do.
Everybody knows what it is.
Yes.
What are you talking about? Let's go ahead and get to it. My number 10 is, and this is a new one for me. I usually don't like themes like this.
Theme?
Huh? No,
Oh.
Yes, new themes.
Okay.
I usually don't like this kind of thing, but I'm a little bit strange because I break this theme into a lot of different categories, and I really like some of those categories.
Okay.
But the main theme here is horror. And I'm not a big horror theme kind of person, but one game has really kind of solidified the horror genre within this, and on top of that, it's also a solo game. It's called Final Girl. That's the personification of horror in this theme for me. Now, and the reason I think that's true is because a lot of the other horror-themed games are not very creepy, if I can say it that way.
Sure.
They don't feel creepy. They're just like, yeah, we're fighting monsters, yeah, we're fighting zombies, whatever, but it's what it is. It's not creepy. Final Girl kind of carries that creepy vibe with it because it's one girl against that final boss, and the final boss is a beast or whatever. And go ahead.
No,
I
said yep.
Yep. All right. Well, that's my number 10. Now this is a distant 10 for me.
Really?
Yeah, because it's new. So I put it on there, and because it is true, but I really don't like horror themes in general. But again, we'll talk more about that later because I split horror up into too many different subgenres.
Gotcha.
But anyway, that's my number 10, horror, with Final Girl being the figurehead.
That makes sense. I don't know. I did mine. I always do mine a little bit differently. That's just the way it works. I took 40 themes from board games, my favorite themes. I didn't care about if they're board game themes or not.
Yeah.
Video game themes, just everything that I love.
Yeah.
I put them in a list. I actually Pub Meeple ranked them. And then the 10 that were on top, well, it kind of got a little bit sorted, but that's
No wonder it took you so long.
And then I put a game into each one of those. My number 10 theme is pirates.
Pirates?
Pirates are a cool theme.
Arr.
I don't know that any of mine are, my number 30 or something, those would be very distant ones, like you said, with your horror. But as far as pirates go, I like pirates. It's a great theme. It's a fun thing to act out. It's a fun thing to watch. It's a very interesting group of people, always.
Yes, always.
And my game for pirates is Sea of Legends from Guildhall Studios.
Man, that is a good one.
In Sea of Legends, you take on a pirate. You have a lover that's somewhere out there in the Caribbean. You have a nemesis that's somewhere out there in the Caribbean. This is very app-assisted. You can do your personal quests. You can go do stuff for the person that's your lover. You can do stuff to hamper your nemesis. But at the same time, there are British and Spanish galleons all over the waters. There are sea creatures and beasts. There are giant whales. There's ghost ships. There's all these kind of things. You get to be a pirate captain for
That's cool.
a short duration of a game and do whatever your heart's content.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty fun. I really like the app assist on this. It's really, app assist is really not explaining exactly what it is. I think it's a lot more integral to the game than just calling it an assist.
It is. I mean,
because there's so much reading.
A lot of
there's
story.
Yeah, there's so much background into the storyline of your specific game and your character, and it tracks all of that stuff for you.
Yep, and it tracks the bad guys that are on there. It tracks what the other guys are doing, if they're connected to the nemesis or whatever else, and it weaves all of that together. This isn't something you could get in a book and read passage 105 because it wouldn't work. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would work, but you just have a
it wouldn't be. There wouldn't be cross references between characters and nemesis and bad guys and everything else. So.
That's a great pick. Great game.
My number 10, Pirates: Sea of Legends.
Yes, indeed. All right, my number 9 is racing. I've always liked racing games, but this one is specifically car racing or auto racing. I don't really like a lot of other kinds of themes. If I think racing, I'm thinking cars.
Yep.
I really am. And a few years ago, if we had done this list, I would have put Formula D in for racing, but Heat, Pedal to the Metal, has eclipsed Formula D for me. Because I like the card, the hand management system that is used in Heat rather than the dice rolling mechanism that's used in Formula D. I just like that better. I think Heat has better artwork. Go sue me. It's Vincent Dutrait. But on top of that, I just think it has a more complete and robust racing system. You can play tournaments. You can play a championship series. It's got a good solo mode. There's just a lot of other things that you can do with this game. I wasn't really in on the whole street racing vibe that the new Formula D kind of added into it. I didn't really care about that. But Heat Pedal to the Metal is my racing game of choice right now. But there's also great racing games that are in kind of crossovers with genres. Like Jamaica is a great racing game that's pirates.
That's pirates, yeah. Pirate racing.
He doesn't like Jamaica. That's fine.
It's fine.
That's fine.
It's fine.
But I really enjoy Heat, Pedal to the Metal, and I do enjoy the racing theme, and that's my placeholder for it.
Gotcha.
Number 9.
Gotcha. All right. My number 9, Sam's not going to like this very much. Not whatsoever. But my number 9, it made it on the list, so Sam should be happy, is Vikings.
Ooh. Well,
so,
which game shall we... I know it's not going to be the one that it should be.
It's not going to be... Well, yeah, probably not. It's going to be Raiders of the North Sea.
Okay.
In Raiders of the North Sea, you're collecting cards, you're creating a crew, you're going out and raiding outposts and cathedrals and whatever else, fortresses. The Valkyrie, you're wiping out the guys and taking them off to Valhalla. You're fighting against Jarls, you're drinking a lot of beer, and you're trying to beat the other person in victory points as you get your spoils of war. So, yeah, that is my... It's a Euro-y game.
Very much Euro-y, yeah.
It's kind of funny with some of these. I had... Not this one. I think that's a... That theme goes throughout this game. I mean, that's what you're doing, is creating a crew and destroying. But some of the things that I had that I thought of, one of them that actually didn't make my list was medieval. I really liked the medieval theme, but I couldn't find a good medieval game that was thematic.
Right?
Yeah, there were some of them that I just couldn't find a game
that wasn't like a war game or a miniatures game or something like that.
Yeah, but had like a more depth in the theme. But anyways,
we
my
just
number
played
9,
one on the weekend. What are you talking about?
It was thematic?
Yeah, it was
That's
thematically medieval. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Fair. All right. My number 9, Vikings, Raiders of the North Sea.
All right. Here's the question, though. Is there a difference between, like, should all games that have, like, any kind of Nordic theme be considered a Viking theme game?
No.
Good answer.
So there's a
good
trick
answer
to all that.
Go
ahead.
That's good. We'll stop there. Good
fair.
answer. We'll talk about that later. All right, my number 8 is, and this is, I'm probably going to take some flack for this one because I've only played this game once.
Oh.
And it is my placeholder for this game. But I thought really long and hard about this one. I thought really long and hard about this one, and it's fantasy. That's the theme.
Okay.
Fantasies. Not like D&D type stuff.
Sure.
That kind of fantasy realm, archers, berserkers, mages, all of this kind of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. But just generic fantasy. Not necessarily D&D, because almost D&D kind of takes on its own its own life.
I had my own struggles with that one.
No, but this one, the placeholder for this one is going to be Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape. And the reason for it is because, for me, it was a board game that wasn't D&D affiliate, but it still carried that idea of a fantasy role player because each of the different players plays so differently.
Okay. Yeah,
that's the reason why. I really have enjoyed the Zombicide system, and I feel like Massive Darkness 2 kind of built upon that Zombicide system, made it better and more thematic for a fantasy setting. I really enjoy it a lot. And again, I've only played it once, so this is where people might come at me, but
it doesn't matter. You're putting in a good game that fits the theme.
There you have it. My number 8 is fantasy, and the placeholder is Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape.
We might, if I remember, I'll bring that up again later. Okay,
Ooh.
Right on. There was a lot of cool little intricacies to this list.
Yeah, there
was.
Absolutely.
All right, my number 8 is the theme of, I don't know, I really like this theme in all facets of this theme. And it's about prohibition. It's the mafia.
The mafia.
The mafia is such a good theme. The Chicago, the 1920s, that whole shtick is just something that sticks.
Specifically prohibition, or just like organized crime in general?
Well, yeah, but mostly around prohibition, really. That's where all the big mafia stuff really hit the ground running, right?
Yeah,
and really built up. So, but anyways, the game for mafia for me is Scarface 1920.
That's cool.
You guys have heard me talk about this one before, but you are bringing up your troops, which are, your guys that are going to go out and do stuff. Your now I can't think of the names. They're not affiliates. What are they called? What are your general guys in a mob? Anyways,
bruisers?
Yeah, sure. You're getting your goons together. You're going out to area control Chicago. You're building speakeasies. You're brewing, or you're getting with brewers to brew alcohol so you can transport it across. You're getting guns. You're trying to sell alcohol and guns to the businesses in your district.
Sounds like more than just prohibition, my friend.
You're trying to stay away from the coppers, or they're going to raid you. You're making underworld deals. You're doing all of these cool things. Each of you has your own gang, and they're out attacking the other people's gangs and trying to steal their stuff, and you're kind of influencing the cops to go to other people's districts and things. Yep. Just really cool, great theme. The game fits the theme really well, and I just like that mafia theme.
Yep, it's fun.
Hey, Tony, what's he doing? I don't know.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Me and my little friend.
All right, my number 7. Now, again, another conundrum that came up.
I like them.
Is space science fiction, and is science fiction space? Or should they be separate?
I think they're separate.
Should they be separate?
I think they're separate.
I definitely think they're separate. Science fiction actually didn't make my list because space kind of took its place. Now, a lot of science fiction stuff or sci-fi fantasy stuff happen in space, but not necessarily. This one is specifically space for me, and it is the quintessential space opera game, in my opinion. That's Twilight Imperium 4th Edition.
That's science fiction to the core.
It is space.
All right.
It is space to the core, and that's the thing.
We will disagree.
Is it?
It's definitely science fiction. There's all these alien races.
Yeah.
They have all of their spaceships.
But where does it happen?
Different than...
It happens in space. Science fiction can be anything, but it can be anything.
A space game is SETI, or exploring the moon, or terraforming Mars.
But
no.
I mean, here's the thing. So science fiction is, it's like an umbrella to me. And it can mean anything that happens anywhere
I know.
from a scientific perspective about anything. It's such a huge umbrella.
Okay.
So within that umbrella, you have like real possibility, but still fiction space, which is terraforming Mars. I mean, it's possible we could do that. We've sent stuff to Mars. We haven't sent humans yet, but it's that kind of stuff. But then you also have other, like, fake space, like hundreds and hundreds of alien races that are out there that we'll go in. So, but it's all under that umbrella of science fiction.
All right.
For me, a space opera
Scientific.
means Star Wars.
That's science fiction.
I know, but it happens in space.
All
That's
right,
what
it
I'm
does.
saying.
It does.
So
All right.
space for me is underneath the umbrella of science fiction,
All
and
right.
I didn't include science fiction because of my more truncated version. I'm trying to get more compartmentalized here.
All right.
And that's what Twilight Imperium 4th Edition is for me. It's a space opera that happens in a fictional universe. So yes,
All
I
right.
agree, it's science fiction, but it's in space.
All right. It's in space.
It's not like, for example, I don't know, I'm gonna troll everybody a little bit here. It's not like Pandemic. That's science fiction.
Is Pandemic? Pandemic's not science fiction.
I
Pandemic
think it
is fiction. I don't think it's science fiction.
Have we ever had?
A pandemic? Yes.
Well, yes, we've had a pandemic,
We've had
but
several, Black Plague and
sure,
everything
yes,
else.
exactly. But it's just
All right.
whatever. My space-themed game is Twilight Imperium 4th Edition, and it happens in space. Prove me wrong.
2 thumbs up.
Go ahead.
All right. I can't disagree, but I love your addition there, because my number 7 is a post-apocalyptic game, and this one was tough for me to find the most thematic post-apocalyptic game until I looked at Pandemic Legacy Season 2, which is 100% post-apocalyptic. I can't spoil it for you, but you start out here and you've got to figure a lot of stuff out after the pandemic.
I agree
So,
with that.
this was my best choice for post-apocalyptic.
That's
was
pretty good.
Feeling through those 12 to 18 to 24 games if you really did bad, and navigating your way through a post-apocalyptic world. So, anyways, my number 7 is Pandemic Legacy Season 2.
That's good. That's good. So now we can come back to something I told you we were going to talk about later.
All right.
And that is,
I like it.
There is a difference between Viking-themed games and Nordic mythology or Norse mythology. I think there's a difference there.
Oh, yeah, Viking and mythology.
Yes, two different things. Viking games, in my opinion, are more historical than mythological.
Yep, ships and axes. And
That is correct, yeah.
I agree, 100%.
Trading, pillaging, sailing, all of that
100%.
kind of stuff.
Yep.
My placeholder for the Viking theme, which is my number 6, yes. It's my number 6, which you might say, wow, it's super low for you. Just hold on to your hats, folks.
No, he's got 4 more coming.
No, not 4 more. No, not 4
Viking,
more.
it's all right.
This is my historical Viking theme
All right, I like it.
placeholder, and it is actually Fire and Axe of Viking Saga. Now, the reason I put Fire and Axe of Viking Saga instead of 878 Vikings, because 878 Vikings was a myopic view of an event, the
Right.
Viking
One
invasions
specific-
of England.
Yeah, yeah.
Fire and Axe of Viking Saga is more kind of top level, where they're traveling around to all of these different ports, all the way down to Italy, all the way over to Russia, all of these things. It actually shows what the Vikings did on a broad spectrum rather than just the invasions of England. So that's why I chose Fire and Axe of Viking Saga over 878 Vikings. I think they're both really great historical Viking-themed games, but I think Fire and Axe of Viking Saga shows it in a more grand scale. So that's my number 6, historical Viking themes, Fire and Axe of Viking Saga.
I like it.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. My number 6. So that's our first crossover in this group, huh?
We both had kind of the same.
Yep.
Because your Raiders of the North Sea
Just
is
Vikings.
very much a historically themed Viking game.
Yes. All right. Well, my number 6 is our second crossover in this half, and it is horror.
Ooh.
Now, when I started the horror one, I had it actually broken up into different pieces, and
did I.
it all ended up in one category. Because the truth is horror, if you look at like creatures and stuff like that, like supernatural horror is my favorite. You know, over paranormal horror or psychological horror, right? I mean, those are kind of the three types of horror, right? You have supernatural is my favorite. Werewolves and vampires and you know, creatures in, you know, in the darkness and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Supernatural horror is my favorite. And vampires are kind of my favorite on top of that, although I couldn't find a good vampire game. Now, you guys are going to say Fury of Dracula. I've never played it.
Well,
so
right up there.
I can't put it on there. So anyways, so where I ended up with my horror game was Resident Evil, the board game. I know I've talked about this a couple times lately, but Resident Evil is very specifically a survival horror game where you are traipsing through, you know, tunnels and buildings and whatever else, trying to get away from zombies and lickers and all these big nasty evil monsters that that jump at you in the night and try to eat your face off. It's a very thematic game. You can definitely get into the whole sneaking around and trying to avoid zombies and down to your last bullets and all those kind of things we've talked about. But that is my number 6 horror-themed games, specifically Resident Evil.
Cool. Well, that's not bad. We had 2
thematic crossovers,
even though we chose different games for them. But still, 2 thematic crossovers. That's pretty cool. All right. Well, at this point, you can go over to the Flipside.
Yep.
Forgot, we're on the Dice Tower right now. You can go over to the Flipside and watch our top 5 themes in board gaming and see what games we gave those top 5 positions to be placeholders right now, because I put them to go up at the very same time. So that's available for you. Thank you for being here for us, though. We appreciate you. Give us a like and subscribe here on the Dice Tower, and let us know in the comments.
Yep, jump in the comments. Tell us in these themes what games we need to check out that are super thematic.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys and gals on the Flipside. Take care.
See you in 2 minutes.